Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the Employee to Boss podcast. I'm your host, Haley Hayhurst. Today, my guest is Jennifer. She is a successful entrepreneur, a writer, and a chronic illness warrior. So she's the founder of 123 Momsquad, which is a podcast and also a community where she helps other people with chronic illnesses deal with their day-to-day symptoms and really motivate them. So in this episode, we talk about her 20-plus year history of suffering from chronic illnesses. She talks a little bit about her journey from dealing with all of her chronic illnesses and then becoming a mom and then really listening to her body and being able to start a successful business. So she realized that she had just been struggling for way too long and decided not to take it anymore. And then from that moment, she stopped letting her chronic illnesses define her, and she learned how to manage her symptoms and, most importantly, live and love her life again. So one of her main passions is helping others. So through her work, she supports all the moms out there who are suffering from chronic illnesses and chronic pain. Jenny says it's her goal to promote the impact of lifting up one another, even on our worst days. So she's very passionate about her work, and if you are someone who is struggling with a chronic illness and are trying to figure out how do you listen to your body, how do you be productive on days that maybe you're not feeling your best, she is the one to listen to because she has gone through it and helps others now. So be sure to connect with her. All of her links are in the show notes. If you want to join her Facebook community for uplifting each other with chronic illnesses, definitely check that out. And let's get right into this really great episode. Hey, Jen, thanks so much for joining me today.
Hi, Haley. It's so great to be here. Such an honor. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think we connected on Instagram, and I think it was
Mm.
actually from that new feature where you could share your thoughts on
Oh, that's right.
Instagram. And so Instagram always has new things coming out, super fun, but I
Yeah.
realized we were following each other. And so I started looking at your page and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to have Jen on my podcast.
Yeah, it's funny when you do talk to people or you kind of interact with them over different platforms on social media. And then you're like, I really need to touch base with this person because you feel like a connection of, some way, shape, or form that there's a deeper connection and a conversation under that layer. So I'm glad that you reached out, and I'm glad that Instagram has that little feature.
Yeah.
I've been enjoying it as well. With everybody has something little to say, and it's like, oh, that's so nice. So yeah.
Yeah, me too. I think it's such a cool feature. But yeah, to get started, I would love for you to introduce yourself to the audience and kind of tell them what you do now.
Great. So my name is Jennifer, Jenny Lynn, mom, hey, all the things. I consider myself a chronic illness warrior. But so I guess long story short, it's not really going to be short anyways, but I have been battling chronic illness all my adult life, which is over 35 plus years. It really all started, I believe, when I had mono, when I was 15 years old. And it kind of spiraled down a rabbit hole from there. My body was never the same. I was never able to kind of recuperate my immune system since then. I did have 6 abdominal surgeries throughout my life, most of them actually all of them when I had my children. I was 29 when I had my first child, but prior to that, I did have a miscarriage. My daughter came an emergency C-section for me. I needed 2 liters of a blood transfusion, and I had to stay on the emergency floor that night. It was a very, very scary was a very scary night for me, but I did end up obviously pulling through, and my daughter is healthy and beautiful, and she's now 13, gonna be 14 next month. Oh my gosh. And 14 months later, I had a son. But my chronic illnesses stem from lupus to fibromyalgia, Raynaud's disease. That is a blood clotting type disease. So my hands and my feet turn purple and white in the cold. And I live in Buffalo, New York, so I have a hard time during the winter months. But fibromyalgia and, oh my gosh, I have high cholesterol, which somehow started after I had my son. I'm not a drinker, smoker, overweight. I have no idea. Sometimes they say it's just in your DNA, and it's quite bizarre. And I have medullary sponge kidney, which is some sort of like scarring on the inside of your kidneys. And so I forever make kidney stones. So yeah, I've been all over the map when it comes to chronic illness, but I became a stay-at-home mom after I had my son. Obviously, I did work at our family business, and my husband now works for our family business, but I wanted to raise our children. I didn't want to put my kids in daycare and have somebody else raise our children. So I said, "Okay, I'll stay home with them." But having these 2 kids 14 months apart was very, very challenging. While one needed a nap, the other one needed to be fed, then they would cry and wake each other up. It was an absolute nightmare. So to be a stay-at-home mom was extremely challenging, and then adding on the top that you have many chronic illnesses made that job nearly impossible some days. Luckily, my mom lives next door to me, and she would come over to help with one of them while I tended to the other one. But as the kids were growing up and they became toddlers and they're moving around a lot, there were so many days that I felt so guilty because all I could do was sit on the couch and put a movie on or put the iPad on in front of them. And mom guilt really set in really quickly. And I absolutely hated that that's the kind of mom that my kids saw. And I knew that I had to make a change. There were many things that I wanted to do for myself during that time, but being a stay-at-home mom and taking them to play camps and just finding things for them to do, I wanted them to be involved and, socialize and everything. I was never home. So I started a lot of those like MLM companies. sold like Jamberry nails, home and garden. Like I did so many of those things thinking that that's what I could do, to just get out of the house and do something for myself, but also show my kids that mom just doesn't stay home. I mean, you ask the kids now, or I would ask them, what does your mom do? Oh, she doesn't do anything. She doesn't have a job. And it's like, no, that's not true. I have the hardest job, ever to raise tiny humans, to hopefully make them decent adults. And that's hard to hear from your children. But I get it because my mom was a stay-at-home mom, and now that I know how much work she did raising me and my sister, it really kind of hit a nerve when I heard my son say that the one time. So I appreciate everything, oh my gosh, tenfold that my mom did while she was raising my sister and I. But as I realized that these MLM companies were just not they weren't sitting with me because it wasn't my passion. It was somebody else's passion to start those companies. And it wasn't something that I really, really enjoyed doing. I mean, I enjoyed getting out of the house, but it didn't light me up inside. And I knew that I needed something for myself. I felt like I was always like a little entrepreneur when I was young, selling lemonades. We lived near a football stadium by Buffalo. So the Buffalo Bills, the football team, we would park cars in our lawn back in the day in costumes and stuff. And I would help my father, bring cars in. And it was a lot of fun. And watching him start his company, he was always a go-getter. He wasn't home a lot, but he kind of showed my sister and I how to just be extremely passionate about what it is that you want and go after what you want. So I I definitely feel that I needed something in my life to show my kids and show my family that I could be just like that. But I needed to do it for myself. And it was really hard because at first when I started introducing what it is that I wanted to do to my close family and friends, I got a lot of pullback. Like, Jenny, why are you starting from the ground up? There's so many businesses out there. There's so many coaching programs, yada, yada, yada. And you don't feel good some days. You're gonna overwhelm your body and you're gonna feel sicker. And so I got a lot of pull. And it took me a couple years to really get over the fact that, you know, this is for me. And if I want to do something, it should be for me and for, I don't want to say for nobody else, because obviously I'm here doing everything for people because that's what I feel passionate about. I've always been the caregiver, empathetic type of person that wants to give back. That's what makes me feel good. That's what lights me up inside. So I started listening to a ton of podcasts. That's really how I started because I loved the idea that you could get a lot of information in a short period of time. And it was great for a mom on the go, right? I could listen to a 35-minute podcast, taking the kids to school and back, or just doing some simple errands. And I got some, incredible information. I was inspired. I felt motivated. And I knew that you know what, Jenny? I got a story to tell. I've been around the block 100 times with my experiences with chronic illness and the loneliness and the emptiness of feeling misunderstood from family and friends. And I know that there's people out there, especially struggling moms, that may feel overwhelmed, that I can help. And I wanted to start a community to to let people know that I get it. Then you're not alone. You're not a victim, but I understand where you're coming from. So the first thing I wanted to do was to start a podcast. Well, a lot of imposter syndrome started, and I started getting a logo. I started thinking of my name. I was ready. I was ready to do it. I needed to do something, and it took the pandemic to actually happen because everybody had, we had nothing to do. So I decided to start this business, and I finally had time to work on myself and work on this business. And I pressed record in the fall of 2021 and started my first season. And my tagline is, "You are not defined by your chronic illness. You are an incredible person, regardless of what a piece of paper or what it is that your healthcare team says. And you've got what it takes to live and love your life despite your chronic illnesses." And I am now having better days. I'm loving the days. Don't get me wrong. I have days that my body just says, "Jenny, it's time to rest." And that was hard for me because I do want to create. I'm in this like create mode, and all these ideas come flowing to me at night when I'm trying to rest my head on the pillow. And, I've got a notebook by my bedside that has scribbles on it, and, from the flashlight on my phone, and I'm writing ideas down. But and that was very challenging, was to tell my body, "Hey, Jenny, when you're ready, when you need to rest, and you need to be at peace with that." And so that was tough, and it's still something I'm working on currently, but rest on days when you need rest, and don't overexert yourself on days that you feel good, because you're doing the, one step forward, two step back. And it's hard when you do struggle with chronic illness or multiple or chronic pain, because you do feel that you have to do 100 things on the days that you feel good. And then the problem is you do put yourself backwards because your body just can't handle all of that in one day. So doing little by little and baby steps is something that I've learned to do. And not feel guilty if I need to sit on the couch with my dogs, or, read a book on days where my body just can't function to my highest level that I want it to. But there's always something that I can do regardless. I don't have to go to the gym and run on a treadmill. I can sit on the floor and do some simple stretches while we're watching TV, or, take a walk with my dogs and enjoy being in the present moment. I think is very important for anybody, and just not feeling guilty, really.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you want to start growing your business rapidly in a really fun way? Do you want to increase your visibility and profits? I have just the thing for you. My course, Great Guesting: How to Grow Your Business Through Being a Podcast Guest, is now available, and it's guaranteed to get you on podcasts. Do you want to connect with more clients, share your story, make stronger connections, and grow your audience? But do you find that you're second guessing yourself, are indecisive on a topic because you're into so many things, and thinking, is this even possible? You'll love this step-by-step guide on how to be a podcast guest. We go over 6 lessons that are knowing your story, narrowing down the topic, finding podcasts to be on, setting up your audio, preparing to record, and of course, marketing, because that's what I'm all about. Being a guest can be fun, but if you don't have a plan to go with it, you're really just spending the hour talking. You're not moving your business forward, and that's exactly what this course is designed to teach you. You can find this course on my website at Espresso Podcast Production, and I guarantee you that you will be a guest on podcasts in no time. I want to hear more about like the pushback you got from your family, because I feel like when people start businesses, I don't have a chronic illness, but there are days that I just do not work. I'm like, today my brain is not working, like things are not going to happen. And so I wonder, that's just a typical experience for, I think, all entrepreneurs. Like you can't always just press on. But when you do have a chronic illness and maybe pushback from your family, and it seems like all these things are working against you, like what advice do you have? Because obviously you have a business, so you were able to overcome these things. So what advice do you have to share about all of that?
So, what I'd have to say about that is you really just have to believe that your message is going to help somebody. There's somebody out there that is going to benefit from what it is that I have to say. And whoever it is that's going to try to shut me down or close the door in front of me is actually taking away freedom and joy from somebody else if I were not to share my story. So I think of others. I think of others, and that makes me continue to push through, even if I can't get a full podcast out, because I do release a weekly podcast, and there are some that I have guests, and I also have solo podcasts. I do both, but there are some that are 45 minutes long, and there are some that are 15 minutes long, depending on how I feel. The past actually month, I've had this like strep throat cough thing, so I've been feeling under the weather. So it's these past few weeks have been challenging, but I know that I have a very small audience out there, maybe, I don't know, but I do know that I have my message, and it is helping others to try to continue to go and do the thing that they were meant to do, and to really really harness that passion, because we all want to live the best life that we can. We all want to live a happy life. We all want to live a long life, but we don't want to live a long, unhealthy, crabby life. So we want to be happy, and we deserve to be happy. So I really do think that people everybody's going to have somebody that's just going to give you a negative, something negative to tell you, no matter who you are. I mean, you can look at all the celebrities that still do what they love
Yeah,
and what they want, and they really have to turn their cheek and kind of just take it with a grain of salt. I That's how I kind of just, it is what it is, and unfortunately that's just how society is, until you almost like have to prove yourself. You have to
right.
prove yourself worthy. But you if you have something that's constantly nagging you to tell you, this is what you got to do, this is what you got to do, and sometimes it's years that people keep getting that same message, believe in the universe and believe in the timing, and it really does kind of all align. Life has this balance of when things are ready in your life to work out, and it will find its time. This time for me was after COVID happened, and my kids are finally old enough to get make themselves mac and cheese, and they don't have to need me all the time, which is sad because that's a whole nother thing. but yeah, so do the thing that keeps nagging you, regardless of what anybody is telling you, because you've got what it takes. to send that message and to
Mhm.
help. If you help one person, that's going to make you feel happy, right? I
Yeah.
mean, if one person says, Jenny, you've inspired me and I'm going to keep going. I'm going to do this thing that I've absolutely been trying to do, but I'm going to find it. And you have to be, you kind of hold yourself accountable. And I'll tell you, you're stronger than you think you are. You are so capable of doing more than you give yourself credit for. I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm gonna go run a 10K tomorrow because that's not that's not in my cards, unfortunately. Not that I have no desire to run a 10K, but I do have a desire to help people. And if that's something you want to do, then I can totally help you get there. I have the motivation and, desire to help everybody be the best version of themselves and live a long, happy life and not feeling defined by an illness or pain. Because when you have something behind you that's pushing you to just be that best version of yourself, you're gonna do it, and it makes your life worth living, and you have a whole different mindset on how to live each day, and that's
Yeah,
kind of what gets
totally.
me through, those
Yeah.
hard days. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's this trending audio on Instagram right now that says something like, everything is super important until you get sick. And then you realize your
Mm,
health was the only thing that was truly important. And that's kind
yeah.
of what your story sounds a lot like to me, where you were doing all of these things and then realized like you need to listen to your body and start this business. And so I'm
Yeah.
wondering how you kind of, you went through everything that you went through to start this business, and you're helping people in all different industries, all different people. And I want to hear more about that. But I also want to hear more about like how you became an expert in your niche or an authority in your niche of really helping people, with your podcast and just your coaching, all of those things.
First off, I don't want to call myself like an expert or whatever. I don't have crazy letters at the end of my name, which was also kind of like an imposter syndrome because I'm like, who am I to share my story? But the thing that makes me, I don't know, maybe different or someone who really can relate is that I have been through all of the things for most of my life. I'm 43, and like I said, I was 15 when I was diagnosed with mono, and it's been a domino effect ever since. So when somebody tells me, Jenny, I just got diagnosed with lupus or whatever, I said, I'm so sorry. Like I totally get how that feels and the absolute like why me shame, you go through this whole trauma from head to toe and it feels like what do I have left in my life to give now that I've been given this like sentence of doom, like oh no, I've got XYZ when it comes to all these symptoms. But the thing of it is the symptoms only come out when you're aware of them. If you continue to focus on your pain, then you're going to feel pain. If you focus on, something else that's going to happen in your life or enjoying something that makes you happy, that's what you're going to focus on. But if you continue to focus on the negative and the pain, you're going to manifest pain. I mean, it's just like saying I'm going to hit every red light on the way to work. Well, then you're going to hit every red light on the way to work. It's kind of like your thoughts become your reality. You need to really watch what you're telling your brain because your body is listening to everything you're telling it. If you tell yourself, oh man, I don't know, I have TMJ and I really was grinding my teeth last night, so my jaw hurts. All of a sudden, I get this like pain in my ear. Like you really do, your body manifests what your thoughts tell it. Your brain is so connected to everything in your body. So you really have to be careful with what you're telling it. But when people do tell me, how they feel, you have to when a healthy person when you tell a healthy person okay, I'm having an off day. My body is super inflamed. They're going to go, oh yeah, my body hurts a little too. I'm achy. And all of a sudden the person that has the illness feels completely shut down. Like you just completely devalidated my pain or my symptoms or whatever I was telling you. But when you tell somebody who's been there, who's been through it all, I'm really having an off day. My body needs a day of rest. You're like, all right, I completely understand that. I totally get where you're coming from. You go ahead and you take the day. You take the day to rest because your body does need that. But what I've learned to tell myself too is it's okay to rest, but it's not okay to stay there. You can totally rest today, but tomorrow it's a new day. And tomorrow we take the day as it comes, and we see what challenges it brings and we try to work around them as best as we can. It's become a lot of pivoting and, moving things around sometimes. It is difficult. It is a difficult lifestyle to maneuver, but that doesn't mean that whatever it is that you want to do and yet your life desires is impossible, because it's not. Stop making excuses. You can do it. You just need to believe that you can do it. And I'm there. For the longest time I've believed that there was nothing left for me to do. And but now creating this community in a safe, non-judgmental, space with like-minded people that we all can come together. And it's very important to listen to peers that have been through the exact same thing, because you're not alone. You're not alone in this fight, in this struggle, but there is life beyond chronic illness, and I'm proof of that.
Yeah. I want to hear more about this community that you built, not only who's in it, but also how you built it, how you attracted the right people and really built up this big community of support. Can you tell me about that process too?
Sure. So I went through quite a few different coaching programs on my own because I needed to know where to start. And I got a lot of awesome information from different women all around the globe. And it's really awesome to see how many women are actually taking those steps to really get their messages out there. And they're so helpful and they're so encouraging. So, my first thing that I did was I created a private Facebook group, which is Life Beyond Chronic Illness. So, there, that is my private Facebook group where that is where we can share. If you have a question, if you have a concern, that's where you can talk openly. I also share more openly about my personal story there. My public Facebook page is just 123 Mom Squad, and that shares more general information, some fun quotes, facts about chronic illness, snippets about what guests are going to be on my podcast, things like that. But if you need further support and you need more intimate kind of one-on-one, the private Facebook group is definitely a better place. So, but I'm on all sorts of platforms on Twitter and Instagram, mostly at 123 Mom Squad. And while I guess I'm kind of on that, a lot of people ask me where I got the name of my company from. And it really kind of hit me at night. So again, at night.
Yeah, it seems like
But
most of your greatest
yeah,
ideas come at night.
it's so crazy. They wake me up at night too sometimes. It's insane and annoying and in fact too. So but my daughter was a dancer. Well, now she's 13, but she danced since she was 3. And I was also a dancer for 15 years until my mono hit, which I had to quit because of my mono. And my son is a hockey player. So the thing with when you're on a team, you have that sense of community. There's no I in team. We're all in this together. And as I was at dance competitions or, you'd see at any sporting event, what's the first thing that any team does before, whatever game or competition starts? They all get in a huddle and they all do their little pep talk, right? They all put their hands inside their huddle and they all go 1, 2, 3, and then their hands go up in the air and they scream, whatever their team name or go Bills or whatever it is. That gave me the beginning of my company, which is 1, 2, 3, because that's what to me, community is, and also being a mom and squad, right? So when I have my close girlfriends, I have a video of us actually from Christmas. I did a cookie exchange, and I have it in one of my videos on my YouTube channel. The end of it is all of us getting in a circle and doing 1, 2, 3, mom squad, because I feel like I've built this little community of mostly women. I mean, I do have men that listen to the podcast, but it is obviously mostly for women or moms that just want to feel this safe sense of community. And that's where that kind of came from. So I'm just hoping that, if you're listening out there and you feel like you're struggling and you want a community that understands where you're coming from and you need that little extra support, this is where it's going to happen. I want to be there for you every step of your journey and to help you along every step of your way.
Yeah, I love that. And I love that's the way that you came up with your name of your podcast and brand and all of that. That's so unique and so cool. It just like all of it together. I love that. So you've overcome so much, been through so much, and I really want to hear if you have like one, now this is a big question, but like one piece of advice that you would really share with anyone who's maybe like in the thick of it, like dealing with their chronic illnesses, but like they have a desire to start a business, but maybe they're in the phase where they keep focusing on their illness and their symptoms and those things. What what advice do you have for them?
What I would say to that is it's really getting out of your own head. If you continue to tell yourself that you're going to be sick for the rest of your life and you have no life left in, to give, and you're just gonna waste away, then that's what's gonna happen. You have to be completely mindful of every given day. And that means when you wake up, you're not going to feel sorry for yourself. It's hard to do. It is extremely, extremely challenging, but you are not your illness. Your illness may just be a part of you, but you're going to take that illness and you're going to throw it in the back seat and you're going to stop letting it drive your car because you are the author of your life. You hold the pen and nothing else and nobody else is going to do that for you. You need to make the decisions to live the best life that you can, and you can. You're going to wake up and you're going to drink a glass of water. You're going to tell yourself, I'm going to have a good day. I'm going to have a rocking day. And this is what I'm going to do. And you know what? If halfway through the day you start feeling, fatigued and weak, that's fine. That's cool. Sit down and you rest. And instead of, telling yourself, okay, now there goes the rest of the day, maybe you want to pick up an inspirational book. It's really about being around more positivity than negativity. I stopped listening to the news. I don't listen to it at all. I don't want to read about it. The only thing that I hear about local news is what comes up on my Facebook feed or I hear from my family, but it is not something that I'll turn on at 11 and watch because there's not one thing that makes me feel good about watching the news. I keep telling myself, what would the world look like if the news shared positive stories instead of all the negative stories? We'd be our headspace would be different, right? I mean, we've grown up in a society that just there's so much violence around us even as children. We don't even realize that it's happening, that the world around us is just so icky, and that just internalizes us from head to toe. Our bodies feel that trauma. Whether or not you believe in trauma or not, it's there. It's going to rear its ugly head, and it does that in the form of symptoms and illnesses. And if you don't listen to the little specks, and I call them whispers, if you don't listen to the whispers, they're going to become a scream, and the scream is going to become your illness. So take care of the whispers before it becomes too late. But you need to tell your body that you can do it, and you're going to have a good day. And a lot of people I have tried this as well, with the whole journaling and mindset and all of that stuff. But I do find that writing down my feelings sometimes does help because it gets that out of my headspace. It just gets it out. And there are so many different journals out there. I've probably got like 12 or 15 of them, and not one of them is, like one that I've gone from front cover to back cover, but there are good in each journal. And I've found that every time I read something that has, positive behind it, inspiration behind it, it puts a smile on my face and it kind of decreases all of that, like, oh, like you can just breathe. And breath work is truly something that everybody in the world should be doing and focusing on. Because, I mean, what's the first thing when anybody tells you when you say, calm down, okay, take a deep breath? Well,
Mhm.
why do we say that to everybody? You know what I mean? It's because it truly does help lower our heart rate, and it helps us to become more balanced, and it helps us to just, get more into that parasympathetic nervous system where we're not stuck in fight or flight. So we need to relax. If we're constantly stuck in the fight or flight mode, our body is so tense that we're going to manifest every symptom in the book.
Mhm.
So in order to just be calm, we need to learn how to breathe correctly. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are still breathing through their shoulders and not breathing through their belly and their diaphragm. And that's a big red flag. You need to
Mhm.
look up how to breathe correctly. I've done a couple episodes on box breathing and how to breathe through your diaphragm. Simply put one hand on your chest and one hand on your belly and take a deep breath. And if you see your shoulders go up, you're breathing the wrong way. You need
Mm.
to expand your belly, and that is the correct way to get actual oxygen into your lungs and breathing. And doing a simple, like, 1-minute breath work in the morning before you get your day started will help you get in the right mindset and help you get your body ready to tackle what's in front of you. So it's
Yeah.
really about starting your day on the right foot. If you're going to wake up and say, "Oh man, today's just going to be a crappy day." You can't expect your day to be positive if that's how you started your day, right? I mean, that's what I tell my kids. I said, they'll come downstairs, they'll go, "Oh my gosh, mom, and they start complaining right away." And I'm like, "Guys, stop. What why are you so miserable?" It's like,
You're like, it's
and
7 AM. Like,
right. That's true, and I'm up baking lunches for you guys, but yeah. But we all have so much to be grateful for. You really have to step into the power of what your body is an amazing, amazing being. We are actually able to heal ourselves no matter what. And the more you research and the more that you hear this, it really becomes a whole total mindset shift of, yeah, you totally are capable of that. But you do have to believe it. And if you don't, then there's nothing nobody can say or do for you if
yeah.
you are so shut down. So you do have to be open and accepting to have the help. Like, I can tell you to do, I can tell you to do whatever it is, but if you're not accepting the coaching or the mentoring or whatever it is, nothing is going to help you if you don't think that that is going to help you. You
Mhm.
know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. I just did
Sorry.
my first breathwork class actually, and it was
Oh.
wow. I loved it. I did it in Las Vegas when I was back home visiting, and
Mm,
I've been wanting to find somewhere in Seattle that does like guided breathwork classes because it was so powerful. And I feel like I saw changes immediately from it, just like mindset and mental health wise. It was
mhm.
definitely game changing. So I'll link your podcast in the show notes so anyone who is
Oh,
curious about those episodes can go and easily find them. But, to start wrapping up this episode, and I ask every guest this, and I'm excited to hear yours, I would love
okay.
it if you could share 3 actionable steps for the audience to take that they can start with today to actually make a difference in their life or their business or whatever you challenge them to do.
Oh, there's so many things, but so one thing that has helped me immensely was to take a dry erase marker on my bathroom mirror and write on the mirror, remember why you started. And every day that you wake up and you look in the mirror and at night before you go to bed, you read that, remember why I started. And that just puts me in a place where now I know that everything that I'm going through is this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. You know, it puts you back to that kind of like a sense of reality. But that those 4 words, right? Remember why you started. Yeah, 4 words, 4 words really, really just open my eyes and it puts me it gets me to sleep at night, and it makes me when I wake up in the morning that I'm gonna have a good day because I'm gonna keep doing what I'm doing because it's going to help somebody, and just keep that in the back of your head. Another thing when talking about kind of pushback is you really have to turn your ear, unfortunately, to those that are giving you all the negativity because you have a story to tell. If you're going to help somebody, you have to you have to do it. Like there's and it's going to continue to just nag at you like somebody's taking their finger and constantly poking on your shoulder. You're like, "Okay, okay, I get it." You have to do the thing. Just do it because you have it in you to do it. And I kind of I always would tell myself, you know, them like them horses that would pull wagons or whatever, and they always have like the blinders on the sides of their eyes. You
Yeah.
gotta kind of like you gotta keep yourself focused on like your goal. Focus on your goal and stop looking around you, you know, to like the chatter, the little chatter. That doesn't matter. Remember the goal and focus on the end goal and the result, and you will get there. You know, just go to the finish line. Don't worry about who's behind you, what's on the side of you. You just got to go. Look, stay focused and what's in front of you. And the third thing, ultimately, to keep your body just moving and motivated and going is to keep it hydrated. I constantly have a water bottle near me. I would stay away from plastics. Any type of plastic bottle is just a no-no, especially if you're struggling with a chronic illness. You're just putting more toxins into your body that, you know, your organs have to try to, your liver has to try to get out. Get a glass bottle and just refill that with a filtered water bottle. If you have like from your fridge or them Brita water filters and refill that, put some lemon in it. That's a great detox. Cucumber water, that's, you know, amazing. You can do strawberries, orange. I like to just put a glass pitcher in my fridge and like on a daily basis, I'll just like throw different fruit in it and my kids will grab it and this way cuz plain water I was never ever a water drinker. It's just bleh, right? But I with all my kidney stones and kidney issues, the doctors are like, "Stay hydrated, Jenny." I'm like, "I get it. I
You're like,
know."
fine.
But yep, but your body comes in contact with so many different toxins throughout the day, whether it even be the lipstick you put on your lips or the dry shampoo you're putting on your scalp. All of that seeps into our body and our bloodstream and it's a big strain on our liver if we already have like a sluggish liver. We have to hydrate our bodies. And if you're not hydrated, you're going to I mean, your body's going to feel so weak and drained and you're not going to be able to accomplish anything. So keep that water around and stay present and really just stay focused on your goals.
Yeah, I love those. Thank you so much for sharing. And I've loved all the advice that you've shared in this episode. I thought that it was really powerful, and I'm sure everyone will get value from it. Where can people connect with you? And then I also know you just published a children's book, so I'd love to hear about that too.
Good. Yes. So I'm on YouTube at 123 Mom Squad, Twitter as well, 123 Mom Squad. I started a TikTok page. I think that's like 123 Mom Squad with Jenny Lynn or something like that. But I think it'll probably pop up if you just put in 123 Mom Squad. Everything is everywhere I'm at is that under 123 Mom Squad, as well as my website, and all the links I believe are in there as well. And my children's book I just published is called The Adventures of Spiky and Alien. And I created these two characters when I was 9 years old. And I guess, yeah, see, being a little entrepreneur. So I created these characters when I was 9 years old, and they came to me when I was in third grade waiting for my bus to be called. And I needed them in my life because I didn't have a ton of friends growing up. Boys were more attracted to my personality than girls were. So I didn't have a lot of girl friends growing up. So these characters kind of like I drew them everywhere I went. I would draw them on tablecloths and napkins and little notes that you used to pass in school back in the day. But I'd even put them like when I would stay at the hospital, on the dry erase boards that say your nurse's name. I would put them on there and I would just say, "Hey, smile." And they would make me smile instantly. And my close family and friends would get them in every greeting card, Christmas card. And I finally was able to get them published in a book. Last year, I just released the book a couple months ago, and it's going to be a series, and it is all around friendship and encouragement. It is technically for readers grades K through 2, but one of the reviews that I read was a woman, I think she was in her 20s or 30s, and she was having like an anxiety attack and opened the book, and she started slowing down her breathing because the characters were making her feel better. And that like totally made my heart smile. I know, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, that's so great," So it's not just for kids. So you can grab the book on Amazon, and it's also on my publisher's website. Those are also linked on my website at 123momsquad.com. So,
Perfect.
yeah, and the second book is going to be hopefully being published in summer.
Okay.
This summer. Yeah,
Oh,
so
that is so exciting. Thank you so much for joining me today. Everything will be in the show notes.
Well, thank you for having me on your show, Haley. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to the Employee to Boss podcast. If you made it to the end of this episode, I hope that you implement the actionable steps from this week's experts so you can get started with your business today. Please rate, review, and subscribe to the Employee to Boss podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts. It helps more than you could ever imagine. Remember, a little progress each day leads to big results. We come out with a new episode every Tuesday. To access our show notes, transcripts, and courses, please check out espressopodcastproduction.com.